But this is programminginsider.com. Good website for ratings because you can really look at everything across the board. Here we are, True TV, 7:45 p.m. That's why I can get this rating. FIBA women's basketball. Scroll all the way down here, and this rating right here on the end is 334. That is 334,000 viewers for that Thursday primetime game.
334,000 viewers. That's the number that just changed the conversation about women's basketball. Team USA's FIBA World Cup qualifier on Turo TV pulled those numbers on a Thursday night in primetime. And before you think that sounds low, understand what it just destroyed. Unrivaled's entire season, including their championship game, just got exposed. The league that was supposed to revolutionize women's basketball couldn't even compete with a qualifying game. Not the actual World Cup, a qualifier.
That you could just already have HBO and you could watch the game. So I don't know how many people watched on HBO. We don't have those ratings. So to give you an idea, 334,000 is what that drew. Unrivaled's viewership, of course, fell 40%. It's funny how they try to talk us into how successful of a year Unrivaled had. Their viewership dropped 40% to an average of just north of 120,000 viewers.
Here's the context that makes this brutal. Unrivaled averaged just north of 120,000 viewers for their regular season. That's a 40% drop from whatever expectations they had going in. Team USA's qualifier beat that by 214,000 viewers. On TRTV, not TNT, where Unrivaled's championship game aired and pulled 314,000 viewers. Think about that for a second. A non-competitive blowout qualifier on a secondary network outperformed a championship game on a primary network. The gap tells you everything about what fans actually want to watch, and it's not what the league executives thought they wanted.
Now, I don't know if you want to call it destroyed, but it still got more viewers than their championship game got. Right down here, the Unrivaled championship game averaged 314,000 viewers on TNT. I would have been very interested to have seen what the ratings would have been for this on TNT, because I think if it's aired on TNT, this game gets 500,000 viewers. And I'm talking about the FIBA World Cup game. You know, and this Unrivaled championship was on TNT, and it still got beat by 20,000 viewers.
Now here's where it gets interesting. The Unrivaled Championship pulled 314,000 viewers on TNT. Team USA's qualifier got 334,000 on TRTV. That's a 20,000 viewer difference, but the network placement matters. TRTV has significantly less reach than TNT, fewer households, less brand recognition, buried deeper in cable packages. The fact that Team USA closed that gap on an inferior network reveals the actual demand disparity. If that FIBA qualifier airs on TNT instead of TRTV, we're probably looking at 500,000 viewers minimum, maybe more. The network handicap cost them at least 150,000 viewers, possibly double that, and they still won.
I mean, after halfway through the first quarter, all these games became not only a blowout. I mean, you can't even call them a 20-point blowout. They've been a 30, 40, 50-point blowout. They've been ridiculous, right? Not even remotely competitive. The other thing was, Thursday night, how many people learned that Caitlin Clark wasn't starting these games and said, well, to hell with it, I'm not tuning in. If they're not going to start Caitlin Clark, I'm not watching.
But there's another factor nobody's talking about. These Team USA games haven't been remotely competitive. We're talking 30, 40, 50-point blowouts. After the first quarter, the outcome is decided. Viewers know this going in. They're not tuning in for suspense or drama or a close finish. They're watching for one reason, and that reason wasn't even starting the games. Caitlin Clark came off the bench in these qualifiers. The player driving the viewership wasn't in the starting five. How many people saw that lineup announcement and said, forget it, I'm not watching if she's not starting? Based on social media reactions, that number wasn't small. USA Basketball took heat for that decision, and it likely cost them viewers who would have tuned in otherwise.
Put up the starting five, Caitlin Clark wouldn't be there. Now, I should get a rating for yesterday's, maybe yesterday's game, because it was a weekend game. But I don't know that for sure, and I'm interested to see what that rating ends up being. But there's also a lot more competition. But I thought this was interesting. A lot of you guys wanted to know it. I was very curious. Not as high as I thought it would be. Again, Caitlin Clark didn't start games. I saw people that literally said in the comments, well, if she's not starting, I'm not tuning in to watch it.
There's also the streaming factor that's impossible to quantify. During the broadcast, Tiro TV had a 3-minute blackout, just a black screen with the TNT logo. When that happened, viewers flooded social media saying they were watching on HBO Max instead. No cable subscription needed, just an HBO Max account, and you could stream the game directly. Those streaming numbers aren't included in the 334,000 figure. That's linear TV only. How many additional viewers watched via HBO Max? We don't know. The data isn't public. But if the social media response is any indication, it could be substantial, which means the actual total viewership might be significantly higher than reported. The linear number already beat Unrivaled. The real number could be embarrassing for comparison.
Regardless of what Nafisia Collier and Brianna Stewart or anybody else wants to try to tell you about how successful that league is, okay, sure, if you say so. Second-year league, your ratings dropped 40%. Your championship game got beat by, and keep in mind too, we're talking about qualifying games. All right? This is not even the starting lineups. The actual World Cup itself is in September. This is like the preliminary games before you get to the World Cup, where you're testing out your lineups and all that. Interesting. Tell me what you think. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Let's talk about what Unrivaled was supposed to be. This was the league that was going to give WNBA players a domestic option during the off-season. Keep them from going overseas, better pay, better exposure, building the brand year-round. Nafisia Collier and Brianna Stewart put their names and reputations behind it. Major media partners signed on. TNT and Turret TV committed to broadcast deals. The infrastructure was professional level, and the viewership dropped 40% over the course of the season. Not 40% from projections. 40% from their own early season numbers. The audience they had at the start abandoned them by the end. That's not a marketing problem or a distribution problem. That's a product problem. People tried it and decided they didn't want to keep watching. The championship game bump to 314,000 viewers was purely novelty, one-time curiosity, not sustainable interest.
Thing I wonder is how many people actually knew this was even going on. You would think everybody that's fans of, I guess, the WNBA or Caitlin Clark would know that this FIBA World Cup is happening and she's playing. But I don't know. The other thing is, yesterday during that game, if you were watching on True TV, we had a blackout for like 3 minutes where literally the screen just went black with a TNT logo on it. And I posted.
The 1849 demographic breakdown makes it worse. Team USA pulled a 0.06 rating in that demo. That's 60,000 viewers in the key advertising demographic. On TRTV, for a qualifier, Unrivaled's demo numbers weren't publicly released for most games, which tells you everything. When networks don't release demo breakdowns, it's because they're embarrassing. If Unrivaled was crushing it with young viewers, those numbers would be in every press release. The silence speaks volumes about who was actually watching, or more accurately, who wasn't.
Number one, this game not being on TNT, but having to be on True TV hurt the ratings. But this game still crushed Unrivaled's championship basketball game and absolutely obliterated the average ratings for the season. Just forget about that. And we'll look at that in some contrast and
Here's what makes this significant beyond just one night's ratings. These are qualifying games, not the actual FIBA World Cup, which happens in September. These are the preliminary rounds where teams test lineups and rotations. The stakes are minimal. The competition is non-existent. Team USA is blowing out opponents by 40 points before halftime, and it's still drawing better than Unrivaled's championship. What happens when the actual World Cup starts? When the games matter and the competition gets real? When Caitlin Clark is presumably in the starting lineup and playing major minutes? Those numbers could double, easily. We might be looking at 600,000 to 800,000 viewers for meaningful Team USA games on a decent network. That would absolutely obliterate anything Unrivaled produced all season. The gap isn't closing, it's widening. And the implications for how women's basketball gets marketed and distributed going forward are massive, because the numbers don't lie about what fans want to watch. They want Team USA, they want Caitlin Clark, they want meaningful competition at the highest level. What they apparently don't want is a manufactured domestic league with modified rules and no stakes, regardless of how many star names you attach to it. Unrivaled can spin the narrative however they want. They can talk about building for the future and year one growing pains and expanding the footprint. But a 40% viewership decline over one season, getting beaten by qualifiers on inferior networks, and a championship game that barely moved the needle? That's not a foundation, that's a warning sign. The WNBA itself has the same problem, just at a larger scale. The ratings are inconsistent. The interest is personality driven rather than team or league driven. One player moves the needle, take her out of the equation, and the numbers crater. That's not sustainable long term. You can't build a league on one person. But right now, that's exactly what's happening. Team USA's 334,000 viewers on T-Rot TV for a meaningless qualifier proves the point. Put the right player in the right context, and people will find it no matter where it airs. Unrivaled had every advantage. Better network, championship stakes, star power across multiple players, and it's still lost because the product didn't deliver what fans wanted. The question now is whether anyone in leadership positions is willing to acknowledge what these numbers reveal, or if they'll keep pushing narratives about success and growth while the actual data tells a completely different story. Because September is coming, the real World Cup is coming. And when Team USA puts up numbers that make these qualifiers look small, the contrast with Unrivaled season is going to be impossible to ignore. So where does this leave women's basketball? With a clear understanding of what works and what doesn't. International competition works. Star players in meaningful games work. Manufactured domestic leagues with no history and questionable relevance? The jury's still out and the early returns aren't promising. You can't force fans to care about something just because you built it. They'll tell you what they want by what they choose to watch, and right now they're choosing Team USA qualifiers over Unrivaled championships. Make of that what you will.